There it is.
First off, I'd like to say that Lori McBride's agents harassed me on my morning walks. This morning, a truck that looked like a garbage truck headed towards me on the road. I was going to ignore it at first, but when it came towards me like a driving smoke bomb with a grating sound like a generator, I turned around and went back for another route to try and avoid it. It just kept plowing towards me, billows of smoke around it like a dust storm, and grated off in the direction I planned to go. But now it was gone, so I turned around again and returned to my old route. It then showed up again, but with less smoke, and grated by me. I was on the phone with my men and told them about it. But I stayed on my route this time, and it showed up again about 2 minutes later. This time I filmed it. The guy shouted, "Can I help you? Hey lady, why are you filming me?" I ignored him, and after filming his truck, walked on with the guy in the truck yelling at me. About 5 minutes later, the guy showed up in the truck headed towards me again, this time in my field of vision but on a different street. The guy yelled at me, but I ignored him, read his tag on the back of his truck to my men on the phone. Others of Lori's agents walked around me and stared at me while I was on my 35-minute walk, eyes glaring at me in defiance. If anything, this tells me I really am the American Empress, and Lori McBride does not like how I'm leading the nation. Regarding the incidents around Ukraine, Lori McBride currently leads Ukraine, and that's all you need to know. Poroshenko is her puppet, and I consider Ukraine a terrorist nation led by terrorists. If Putin defends himself against their actions, he's entitled to do that. We do not recognize Poroshenko as Ukraine's leader, nor do we recognize anybody who supports him, but consider Poroshenko and his willing and knowing supporters to be deep state terrorists. I am the Empress and true U.S. leader, not Trump or Nikki Haley. And if they contradict me, I override them. More regarding Russia. It appears Uranium One, a Canadian company, sold 20% of the U.S. uranium reserve to a Russian company called Rosatom at a time when the U.S.-Russia relations were good. Russia today seems unclear on what really happened, but insinuates nothing was illegal about it on the Russian side, since the U.S. and Russia were allies at the time. But apparently bribery was involved, and many transactions secret. William Campbell, in a written statement, claimed he was furious when he learned that the money transacted involved the sale of U.S. uranium to Russia, and that the money benefited the Clinton Foundation. Moreover, Campbell told lawmakers he was personally involved in channeling bribes from the U.S.-based company Transportation Logistics International to executives from the Russian company Tenex, which was involved in the Uranium One deal. According to the Department of Justice, TLI executive Darren Condry and Tenex official Vadim Mikurin pleaded guilty to conspiracy and bribery charges in 2015. Now, Campbell told the lawmakers that he was speechless and angry when the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States decided to approve the Uranium One sale in 2010 given the TLI and Tenex bribery schemes. The response I got was that politics was somehow involved, he testified, according to journalist Sarah Carter. I remember one response I got from an agent when I asked how it was possible CFIUS would approve the Uranium One sale when the FBI could prove Rosatom was engaged in criminal conduct. His answer, ask your politics. To me, the most interesting thing is the last sentence. How was it possible CFIUS would approve the Uranium One sale when the FBI could prove Rosatom was engaged in criminal conduct? This shows rank hypocrisy in the FBI and the Justice Department, who apparently knew all about the Uranium One sale and approved of it at the time, even knowing all the alleged bribery going on. So apparently Clinton and the FBI have been in collusion the whole time, 2008 to now, When it serves the FBI's interests, they go after Trump for Russia collusion, regardless of the facts. Even though in 2010, with Uranium One, they themselves colluded with Russia to sell Uranium One. The trick is Russia's our ally, so the word colluded should be eliminated from our vocabulary with Russia. Though I guess to secretly sell U.S. uranium to Russia is considered worse than first-degree murder, assuming it was secret. I guess it was. The word collusion just assumes Russia must be our enemy. Why do we make this assumption? Why are some politicians so eager to maintain the Cold War? If it doesn't make sense, there's a buck in it. This whole matter is confusing, and I think it's designed to be, because Russia must be the bad guy no matter what, because Russia opposes the deep state. It seems to me the U.S. is too eager to make Russia a criminal, and it's ironic that the FBI is going after Trump for Russia collusion when Hillary apparently colluded with Russia in 2010 with the sale of Uranium One. Bottom line, Russia's done nothing wrong. With Uranium One, Russia and the U.S. were allies, so what's the big deal? I guess the big sin was that it was done secretly and was not reported in the mainstream news at the time. Perhaps because the FBI may have transacted some money in the deal to their advantage at the time? I don't know. With Trump, Russian collusion allegations are only used to undo him because that seems the easiest way to do it. The bad guy is the corrupt deep state inside the U.S. government, not Russia. They use Russia as their scapegoat to cover up their own greed. I guess they don't want everyone to know how greedy they are, that they sold U.S. uranium to Russia for big bucks. The issue here is whether the contract was illegal. We're assuming it was. I guess if you trade big bucks and try to hide it, it surely doesn't look good. But the ones who look really bad are the ones who took the money. FBI? The Clinton Foundation? Not the ones who paid it out. Russia. For some reason, Hillary Clinton did not want the world to know she took tons of money for this deal. I guess she always knew she planned to make Russia a bully to serve her political interests. The crime, if any, seems to lie in those too eager to have a war with Russia. These bloody killers need to go. They are too eager for war between nuclear powers. I guess if they felt they had to hide the Uranium One deal, that makes it look bad, I admit, if you're the Secretary of State and you take over $1 million from Russia to sell over 20% of U.S. uranium. That won't help you win future elections. It's not the actual sale of uranium that's a crime, but that it showed how selfish Clinton is, and she doesn't like the image of being a greedy politician. This woman is more concerned about her image than her character. And it seems most U.S. politicians are just like her, from either party. Personally, I don't have a problem with Putin having more uranium because he's a good man. But I do have a problem with politicians pretending to be one thing when they're another, and then to keep up the pretense, they resort to lying, defamation, and murder. Trump is far from perfect, but he's a genuine patriot, and Clinton is not. And that is her sin, that she's not a patriot while pretending to be one. Perhaps the biggest sin of U.S. politicians of either party is that they have to create an enemy as a scapegoat for their own crimes and greed. Rather than deal with the real problem, they create a distraction, Russia. The price for this distraction could be nuclear war. Politicians like this need to go. They are deadly, selfish, and dangerous, and have no business in politics or running a country. They need the narrative that Russia's the horrible KGB thug, because it helps maintain their illusion that they are not selfish, greedy thugs running the U.S. government. The U.S. has big problems in their FBI and Justice Department, who create criminals depending on the political climate. I am the Empress, and all this Russia collusion garbage must end. In fact, a quick way to find Laurie McBride Jesuits would be those who insist on going on and on with Russia as the enemy narrative. I don't deny that Hillary sold uranium to Russia, but to call it collusion, well, it's more like bad military policy if Russia is our enemy. And of course, claiming that Trump is involved in Russia collusion is utter nonsense. Anybody who does this must be arrested for treason because Putin would die for me. And you can determine this with brain reads on him and would never betray me or my country. So to oppose one who died for me is treason against my government. Go after those who treat Russia as our enemy. They are using the divide and conquer strategy and are guilty of treason. They get the death penalty. Genocidal leader Lori McBride is behind this treason. Arrest her and her followers as deadly Lori McBride Jesuits. As to whether it's a sin to sell uranium to Russia, I guess that depends on how you view Russia. Since Russia is our ally, it would only be a threat to the deep state, because Vladimir Putin opposes the deep state. Regarding Ukraine, as the American Empress, I declare Ukraine a terrorist nation. You see, back in 2014, the Jesuits used George Soros to orchestrate a coup in violation of international and conspiracy law, ousting a legally elected president from power. For this reason, I do not recognize Ukraine as a conspiracy law honoring nation, but consider it a terrorist nation that supports Lori McBride. Regarding Crimea, that nation conducted a vote and decided they wanted to become a part of the Russian nation. I'm sure they did this so they wouldn't suffer Ukraine's fate and wanted Russia to help protect their sovereignty. The people of Crimea voted to belong to Russia. Who are we to deny them this right? The deep state must stop interfering with the sovereignty of free nations. Regarding the Malaysian airliner that crashed, in which the lying West claims Putin illegally attacked, the plane was filled with bombs to attack Putin. Though Putin denies he took it down, he did, in an act of self-defense. He's allowed to defend himself. Regarding Theresa May, we consider her a terrorist leader and do not recognize her as UK's leader. I encourage the UK to cast her out and conduct an election to replace her with a leader who will honor my conspiracy law. She's been working with Lori McBride to lie about Putin and lie that he's behind the UK poisonings, when actually the UK government has conspired with Lori McBride to orchestrate these poisonings to frame Putin with them. These poisonings are inside jobs involving corruption inside the UK government, involving evil Russians inside the UK who have nothing to do with Putin and who are Lori McBride criminals against Lori McBride. And so, folks, my conspiracy law is to be enforced, and this is my stand on Russia. And if Nikki Haley or Trump or anybody goes on television and says something different than what I've stated, just ignore them. And it is now death penalty under my government to treat Russia as our enemy when Vladimir Putin would literally die for me, and I am the U.S. president.